Bungie is aware that Rangefinder has become a necessity on several archetypes of weapons. SMGs, handcannons, and heck even some pulse rifles like the Autumn Wind have the god roll with Rangefinder included. Without Rangefinder, often these guns feel lackluster. If your Immortal SMG doesn't have Rangefinder, you've probably already dismantled it. But wait, I'm here to tell you that Bungie have announced that they are looking to decouple damage fall off from zoom when it comes to Rangefinder. I'll explain what this exactly means in a second, but there's going to be a dramatic meta shift when this happens, and with weapons constantly going in and out of the loot pool, I wanted to tell you what weapons to farm with replacement perks for Rangefinder that I think will dominate the next meta once Rangefinder receives a nerf, which I think could be coming as soon as Season 21. If you already know how Rangefinder works, use the timestamps below to skip to my weapon recommendations instead. So currently Rangefinder provides 10% increased zoom when aiming down sights with a weapon, which in effect gives 10% extra damage fall off distance, along with 10% increased aim assist fall off and other accuracy bonuses. In essence, the increased zoom is providing you with increased effective range. It's such a ridiculous perk on certain archetypes of weapons like SMGs and handcannons, where Rangefinder allows them to bypass their one weakness, their range. Take for example the Immortal SMG. Rangefinder on its own increases the effective range from 18.56 meters to 20.42 meters. That's nearly 2 meters of extra range to beam people from. No other singular perk or mod gives you this much of a bonus to effective range. 10 range from say like an adept range mod or a range masterwork gives closer to 1 meter of extra range. So you can see why Rangefinder becomes an absolute make or break perk for so many weapons. Now with the Rangefinder change, Bungie is effectively saying that zoom won't increase the effective damage fall off distance. It will just change how far you scope in with the weapon, but won't actually increase the damage fall off with it. We don't know yet how Bungie is going to compensate. Will they completely gut Rangefinder so it provides no range bonuses at all? Or will they give it just like a flat 10 range stat bonus along with the 10% increased zoom? So it's more in line with other things like a range masterwork or an adept range mod. We don't know exactly what will happen, but if I know Bungie, when they nerf things, they tend to swing to the other extreme. So I'm expecting it to be gutted completely. So let's start with handcannons and what my prediction for the next meta options are going to be. Let me start first with Fatebringer. Why Fatebringer? Well, it has a perk called Explosive Payload. Now Explosive Payload, if you didn't already know, splits the damage into 2 portions, one of which experiences no damage drop off. If you go to any website like D2 Gunsmith, D2 Foundry and you stick on Explosive Payload, it doesn't actually change the effective range of the gun on their system, but in actuality with the perk, you actually do have increased range and increased damage fall off. The damage fall off with Explosive Payload is a lot less severe as well. With Rangefinder, once you're outside the intended range, the damage fall off is so severe that it often makes dueling outside of 35 meters not worth it at all. But with Explosive Payload, you'll be surprised at those extreme ranges. It's a more gradual curve in terms of damage fall off because half of your damage isn't actually receiving any fall off. Explosive Payload also has a ton of other benefits. It applies flinch to the opponent a lot better, and it applies like a visual disturbance, making it very hard for opponents to hit their shots back at you. It's also great for shooting people around corners and hitting people from the air as well. The good thing is that if you farm the Master Templar encounter for Adept Fatebringers, they are always guaranteed to drop with Explosive Payload as a fixed perk. For the second perk, you then want either Eye of the Storm or Opening Shot. The next and only time before next season you can farm this easily will be the week commencing May the 2nd, when Vault of Glass will be the featured weekly raid. Another Explosive Payload handcannon I wanted to mention was the Rose, which is going away from the competitive playlist after this season. A lot of you guys out there will have already gotten your Rangefinder God roll sorted. You can see I've here got my Rangefinder Slideshot God roll for controller, but with Rangefinder getting a nerf and the Rose going away from the playlist, you'll want to get an Explosive Payload variant. Instead of Rangefinder in that final column, you can opt for something like Explosive Payload, which will also increase damage fall off as we mentioned before, and a lightweight handcannon with Explosive Payload is a unique selling point that even makes it worth using in the current sandbox before the Rangefinder changes come in. Another option I wanted to mention instead of Rangefinder is actually Opening Shot, because tons of handcannons in that column that have Rangefinder have opening shot as another option. Look at the Rose, the Ostringer, even exotic hand cannons like the Hawkmoon have this. Now, opening shot actually provides some ridiculous benefits for that very first shot. It gives 25 range, which is more effective range than the zoom bonus Rangefinder currently provides, 20 aim assist, and accuracy bonuses as well, which then have a knock-on effect of improving reticle bloom for your subsequent second and third shots. It's a very strong dueling perk, and it gets overshadowed by Rangefinder in a lot of cases, but once the changes come in, I think this will also be another best in slot perk. So in summary, for hand cannons, go farm a Fatebringer with explosive payload in opening shot or Eye of the Storm, go farm the Rose in competitive and look out for explosive payload and opening shot rolls, keep an eye out at for an opening shot Hawkmoon, and as a backup option, you can even recraft your Ostringer for enhanced opening shot instead of Rangefinder, which actually provides more benefits than regular opening shot, giving it a whopping 30 range and 25 aim assist. Now let's move on to SMGs, which I think a lot of you are going to be zoning in on. The king of SMGs currently is undoubtedly the Immortal. Now that's not only because it has great perks like Rangefinder or Target Lock, but because at base it has the best stats for an SMG of its archetype. We already know Tarabet and Archelos are getting nerfs, and that is only going to worsen the Immortal epidemic for the rest of the season. And SMGs as a whole, I don't think are going to receive a massive nerf, with Bungie announcing Rangefinder changes, as they're hoping that that will fix the majority of their SMG problems. So I don't see SMGs being displaced from the top of the meta anytime soon. Now, Rangefinder, as I demonstrated earlier in the video, gives the most effective range bonus to the Immortal, or any other SMG as a matter of fact, nearly double what any other perk, masterwork, or mod gives. Now the real question is, if Rangefinder gets nerfed, will the Immortal no longer be the king of SMGs? Do I need to farm for something else? The answer to the first question is a resounding no, but the answer to the second question is actually yes, and here's why. Number one, the Immortal's base stats, as I mentioned, are unparalleled, meaning it has a massive head start on other SMGs like the Archelos, or even outside of its archetype like the Funnel Web. Number two, it has an adept version, so you can stick on an adept range mod for an extra 1 meter of range. And number three, there's actually a very good replacement perk for Rangefinder in the same column, and that's Keep Away. Now, Keep Away provides bonuses to range, accuracy, and reload when no enemies are in close proximity. More specifically, it provides a 10 range bonus, which translates to roughly 1 meters of effective range when you're outside 15 meters from an enemy. And for most SMG 1v1 duels, 15 to 22 meters is the ideal range you want to engage at. So if you're positioning yourself correctly, you will have this perk active. If you're engaging closer than 15 meters, then you're at mercy of shotguns and rapid fire fusion rifles. Now, if we swap out Rangefinder for Keep Away, the effective range drops from 24.6 meters to 23.4 meters on a God Roll Immortal, which will still make it better than all other SMGs with the same TTK. So the Immortal Adept is coming back to Trials on the second to last week of this season, and even if you already have your Rangefinder God Roll, I would highly recommend getting back into Trials, sorry to say guys, and farming for a Keep Away God Roll. That's my prediction for the next meta. Another SMG option I did want to mention was Shira's Wrath, which I know has a slightly slower TTK of 0.8 seconds, but with the Rangefinder nerfs, it will start to carve out its own little niche a little bit better, as a max range roll can hit 25 meters. It's not available currently as an adept option, but you can legacy focus it for the normal version, and even the normal version God Roll without an adept range mod exceeds beyond 24 meters, so this may be a solid option come the Rangefinder nerf. Once the Rangefinder nerfs are in play and SMGs as a whole are reined in slightly, I think another meta option might be the Rufus's Fury, especially the crafted or adept versions. These have very competitive 0.75 second TTKs across all resiliences, and they do this across a massive range of nearly 30 meters. But I'm going to do a separate video on the Rufus's Fury later down the line, so it won't be covered in the scope of this video. So there you have it guys, my recommendations for the weapons you should be farming, or at least looking out for and not instantly dismantling, because some of these weapons could form part of the next meta, If you enjoyed this longer format video, remember to drop a like as that helps the video out a ton, and subscribe to the channel for more content like this as we get closer to the mid-season update and the changes that are going to come with Season 21. I'm Mr. Ronit, and that's it for today. Peace out, guys.